Welcome to Meet Your Candidates. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, and today I'm going to be talking with Miles Payne and Larry Borum, who are both on the campaign journey to becoming Eastern Student Body Government President and Vice President. Welcome to Meet Your Candidates. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, and today I'm joined by Miles Payne. He is currently a junior here at EMU, who is from Chicago, Illinois, and he is also majoring in psychology, sociology with a minor in leadership. Miles one day hopes to go into educational reform policy, and he is currently running for Eastern Student Body President. So welcome, Miles.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
thanks for being here. I hope you're ready to talk about your campaign plan and get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's start off with the RecIM renovations.
Yeah.
So I see that you plan to work off the progress made by student government in the university.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by work off the progress made? What has already currently started?
Of course. So the really cool thing is that student government has been for years working on getting the rec renovated. Because if you've been in the rec, I'm sure you know it kind of looks like a 70s sitcom a little bit. So student government has been putting in a lot of work, and just this past year, student government passed some bills that are really focusing on putting about $8 million towards like donations from outside, and then it's going to be about a total of like $18 million renovation. So Larry and I are really focused on putting like pedal to the metal and just going all the way forward and making sure that gets done for the whole student body.
So I see that you want to have a minimal per student semester fee.
Yes.
How are students going to know that they can opt out of this? And kind of as a sidebar, don't we already have enough fees in our e-bill kind of already in there?
I know fees is a really scary word, and we're always like, fees. Even, I'm sure you've seen the commercial of like, the little fees crawling over everybody. I know we're worried about the word fees, but this one isn't bad at all. This one's going to only be about $34, $35, right around there. And we will make sure we let students know that they can opt out of that fee by going to Pierce, filling out some paperwork, and then you don't have to pay that fee.
So I don't know if you've ever had to deal with Pierce and kind of that process, but I know it can be frustrating for a lot of students.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's a lot of errors and mishaps, and the staff is confused. So is there going to be another way students are going to know that they can opt out of this?
That's going to be the primary way. If there's other options that we can work on, we're absolutely going to try to make that happen. But at least for right now, that opt-out fee going through Pierce, going through all that paperwork is the primary way. But we have full confidence in Pierce that they know what they're doing and that they won't make those too many errors. But of course, we're human and that can happen, but we feel confident in their ability.
Also, from what I'm familiar with, the RecIM is separate from Eastern's campus. So how is this a feasible fee when the RecIM is separate from the actual campus of Eastern? It's owned privately.
The RecIM?
Yes. From what I understand, it is a privately owned entity.
It is not a privately owned entity, at least as far as I know. But it won't, it'll still operate. It still operates under the university's budget. It still operates under that. And so with the $8 million from outside donations, plus with the student opt-out fees over time, that will put in enough money to get it renovated.
So if this does happen, I mean, how are students going to know about the fee, though, to opt out of the fee? I'm just speaking from from a student's perspective,
absolutely.
Who's going to just see this random extra $35 and have no idea that it's, the RecIM's getting renovated.
Right.
Students are kind of oblivious to what's going on sometimes. So,
absolutely.
I mean, how is this going to be known that there's this extra fee that they can opt out of instead of just overlooking it?
Right. So after the $8 million is put in, we are simply going to make an announcement to pretty much all campus, and not one little announcement on some Facebook page right in the back saying, oh, by the way, there's a fee. We're going to make sure that all students know that, hey, the rec is being renovated, and this is what is required of you to renovate this rec, and here are your options if you do not want to pay that fee.
Fair enough. So going on to the OffCampus Flex program.
Yeah.
How do you plan on getting the community on board with that to get them to actually accept Flex?
To accept Flex, absolutely. So a really cool thing that Larry and I were thinking about is, how do we get IPSI and Eastern kind of back together? Because we're a little separated. A lot of students at Eastern don't really know IPSI, and IPSI, frankly, doesn't really know Eastern that well. And so we wanted to create a way that gets students back out in the community and the community accepting us. And so pretty much a really cool kind of like motto you can say in regards to this is a rising tide lifts all boats. And what I mean by that is when you are talking to like businesses outside the university, they know that, hey, students want to come to Tower, they want to come to Bonacera, they want to come to these places and spend money. Businesses are cool with that. That gets them traffic, that gets them word of mouth, that gets them money. And Chartwell's, our dining service, is now going to be more inclined to sell Flex because now students know, wait, I can use Flex off campus. They're going to be more inclined to buy Flex as well. So it's a win-win situation for everybody, but it's going to be tough. But if we can make sure all parties know it's a win-win situation, we're going to make it happen.
So how would the Flex be translated into real monetary value then?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Right. So essentially, you're going to Tower or whatever, and you're buying some food, and you're using the Flex just kind of like you would a debit or credit card, because that's what you can use your normal Flex card for anyway if you have outside money on that. But there's essentially like a contract that Eastern will have with these businesses. And it's kind of like a token system almost that the businesses say, hey, this is how much was spent here. We need that money. Eastern pays that money, but Eastern's also making money because that money's being spent, if that makes sense.
So how would they bring that up on their register, though? Wouldn't they have to get like a whole new system? Or how are they going to even be able to read that with their technology?
With the business's technology?
Yeah, like
how
a
would
regular
they...
cash register, how are they going to read Flex dollars
That makes
then
sense.
not use the students' real cash on their
Right.
actual debit?
And that's part of the initial contract. When we reach out to those businesses and we say, hey, we want this to be a thing, they know that, or like through technology, granted, I'm not the most technology savvy person in the world, so a lot of that stuff's above me, but when we first reach out to them, in those contracts that we make with them, we say, hey, this person is allotted, say, $100, $50 for Flex. And then when they swipe that card, just kind of like you would a debit card to your bank, the transaction comes to here and say, hey, this person has used X amount of money. Does that make sense?
I could see that being, yeah.
It's a little topsy-turvy, it's a little fine line,
Yeah.
but we know other campuses have this. Ohio State has this, MSU has this, Quinnipiac University, a little tiny one over in the East Coast, they have this. Eastern is behind in a lot of things, and we want to push Eastern forward to get them up to times with so many other things that other campuses have. And this is a really cool thing for Eastern to have, and Larry and I really want to make this happen.
So what are some of the businesses you're trying to get on board with this plan?
Yeah, so a really popular one is Jimmy John's, because Jimmy John's just kind of works for everybody. I shouldn't say everybody, but very popular. But pretty much we want to focus on Cross Street, we want to focus on Depot Town, and then a couple businesses in downtown as well.
Very nice, fair enough. Great places down there too.
Yes, absolutely.
So this parking app, I have to ask, how and who is going to monitor these empty spaces to make sure that they're actually empty and then keep the app going
Right.
and updated?
Right.
Explain it, please.
I got you. It is a little complicated, but to clarify, it isn't going to be this literal space is empty. It's not going to be like, hey, that one in the back 4 over to the left. It's not like, oh, I got that one. It's going to be more so, hey, Greenlot has 50 spaces open, versus the Science Complex has 2 spaces open. So if you're in line for the Science Complex parking lot and you're only 2 cars away, you're kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I can go to the Science Complex. But if you're, a whole train of cars back, you're thinking maybe I want to go somewhere else. So it's not a literal this space is open versus this space is open. It's just kind of how many spaces are open total and where can we go. If you've ever passed by the parking structure and it kind of says spaces open, that kind of thing.
Who's going to create this? So I see that you said you wanted to work with the College of Technology. Yeah. Is this students or administration, a little bit of both?
It's going to be a little bit of both. So the College of Technology already works on a lot of these things. A lot of students use this as a class of like how to create an app, how to use technology in this way. And so a really cool thing is that the College of Technology, wants this kind of thing to happen. Parking kind of wants this thing to happen, and we as students want this thing to happen. So working with the College of Technology, we say, hey, you can turn this into a class, you can use this as a project, but let's make this app happen by the people that know how to make it happen the most.
And what's the timeline on getting this created? Are you going to have enough time? I mean, would you have to start this now and figure it out? Because even the best of the best apps have bugs.
Right. Oh, absolutely. So there's going to have to be a pilot program, and that's pretty much going to start next fall. If Larry and I get this position, we are going to start on this right away because our commuters take up about 70% of our population. We are a commuter school, and I think sometimes Eastern forgets that. And so we want to start right away on addressing the majority of our students' needs, and a lot of that is parking. Heck, I'm a resident, and I still have a problem with parking. So we want to start right away on figuring out how we can get people to park easier. So it is going to take some time, but we're starting right away.
Sounds good. Okay, this 10-point plan,
Yes.
it's created by Black Student Union.
Correct.
Can you kind of explain what this 10-point plan is and continuing the progress and what progress has already been made?
Sure. So this campus is under a lot of tension. I mean, our whole civil discourse is under a lot of tension. And the Black community on this campus has received a lot of unfair treatment and a lot of treatment that is not conducive to what Eastern really stands for. And so this 10-point plan was made to better create equitable change, not necessarily equal change, but equitable change for the Black students here on campus. And so a lot of it is focused on creating classes or courses that teach the majority of students the current climate of the Black community, stuff like that. The biggest thing that I am personally focused on is creating those kind of introductory courses. As a lot of students know, particularly a lot of freshmen know, you go through first four, and there is kind of like a show done by Close Up that's kind of like, hey, here are some issues on campus, or here are some issues faced by college kids, and some of that revolves around race. Now that's a great start, and Larry and I want to push that forward. We want to create these inclusive and diverse classes that teach the majority of our students, if not all of our students, the issues around race, gender, sexual orientation, all of these different social identities.
So there are these classes on campus as
Right.
gen eds. Are you going to make this a requirement? Because, I mean, we already have the choice to either take the class or not take the class. And obviously people aren't taking them. So how are you going to make sure that people are actually getting into these courses?
Right. And so the big push for us is that, it's a whole new beast when you're talking about literal class. But a really cool thing we want to do is we want to focus on first four. We want to focus on those first 4 days. We understand that there are a lot of students that are transferring in. There's a lot of students kind of coming and going that are seniors, 5th year, 6th year students. But we want to start focusing on those freshmen that are coming in and start kind of breaking down those, prejudices that they're coming into college with, if that makes sense.
So by the progress that's already been made, what progress has been made?
So a big thing was the Black Student Union, and they wanted like classes put into every major that focus on Black students. Now the Africology department has said this isn't feasible because it would essentially destroy the department. So that is not necessarily a bummer to hear, that's not necessarily an L to hear, but it's something that we can take and we can build and we can work on. So that's the biggest thing that's not the biggest thing, but that's a step that we've learned, is that when you're putting any plan through, when you're putting anything through, you're going to have to shed some things, you're going to have to mold, you're going to have to manipulate, you're going to have to change. And more so, not even change, but grow. And that's one of the biggest things that we're learning. Okay, we may not do this, but how can we still make it into everything about Eastern is?
So what was the alternative then to that?
What do you mean by that?
So if it's going to destroy the department to do it,
Yeah.
how are we going to get people into these classes then?
That's exactly Larry and my plan is, we may not be able to put it into every biology subsection, we may not be able to put it into every chemistry subsection, but if there's a freshman coming in and they're taking chemistry, when they take first four, when they take some of these UNIV classes, they're getting that exposure.
So when you said that it would destroy the Africology department, do they mean because of all of the different subjects and things? I mean, wouldn't it just be easy for them to kind of input, here's a biologist from here, hidden figures, great thing.
Yeah,
Obviously
absolutely.
we had blacks in science, so I mean, I feel like that would be something they could do.
Right.
You can find figures and incorporate it.
It's not necessarily bringing figures in. It's not necessarily bringing, say, a black physicist in or a black chemist in. It's about, teaching about black studies within chemistry and within physics. And I don't want to put words in the Africology department's mouth, so what exactly went behind the scenes for them of saying it wouldn't work, I don't necessarily know that answer, but what I do know is that they have said that it's not going to be able to happen, if that makes sense.
Makes great sense. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Miles. And I realize we'll be back later to kind of chit-chat, do the debate, and meet your VP candidate as well.
He's a great guy. I'm really excited.
I look forward to it.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Hey, Ben. I saw that you had an eventful weekend.
What do you mean?
Duh. Ben, those party photos you posted online a couple days ago where you were living it up. You know, the ones where you were YOLOing all over the place. Here, let me show you.
All right, I got it. YOLO, you only live once. It's my excuse to act crazy. I deleted those pictures, though.
Yeah, about that. I screen grabbed some of those pictures and sent them to Benji. It was golden. You have to remember, Ben, what goes online stays online. And once it's out there forever.
Well, it's out there now.
Most of the time, after something gets posted to social media, it will be duplicated many times from server backups, living in the cloud forever, even after you remove it. A good rule of thumb is if you think what you're about to post could be harmful to you or someone else, just don't post it.
Yeah, last thing I want is for my family, or even worse, my employer or my friends to see me YOLOing all over social media.
Yeah, that applies to more than just pictures, you know. It can apply to all types of content posted online, including text and videos.
Oh man.
You should also be cautious about the amount of personal information you have available online for people to see, such as your full name, birth date, address, phone number, mother's maiden name, etc. Yeah, I'd hate for someone to see you're going to be at a party Saturday night, go to your profile, get your home address, and break into your house while you're out partying. Or use your birth date and your mother's maiden name to answer a security question in an attempt to reset your online password and hack your account.
I definitely wouldn't want that to happen.
Me neither. But being selective about the information you have accessible for people to see is very important. Check your privacy settings on your social media sites to make sure they only have information you want people to see. Yeah, I like to copy my profile URL, log out of the website, and paste it back into my web browser. Then I look over my profile to get an idea of what information of mine is open to the public.
That is a great idea.
It sure is. So what else are you going to do, Ben?
I'm gonna stop and consider any consequences before I post any type of content to my social media websites.
So I tried logging into my .emish account and it wouldn't let me in. So I went down to the help desk and they said I had already changed my password. No I didn't. Shortly after that, my apartment was broken into. Yeah, if you put two and two together, you know where they go. My address. They got my password, got onto my .emish account, and stole my class schedule and my home address. They knew when I wasn't gonna be home. I should have known that a password of ABCD1234 isn't too hard to guess. Now, I'm more careful about choosing a password. I take a word that's 8 to 10 letters long that isn't too personal to me, and I change some characters around. For example, the word college, COLLEGE. I can change the L's to 7s and the E's to question marks. Don't use college, okay? You have passwords for a reason. Take the time to make one that is unique and easy for you to remember, yet hard for someone else to figure out. My name is Daniel, and I'm trying to be safe.
Welcome back to Meet Your Candidates. We are now joined by Miles Payne's Vice President candidate, Larry Borum. He is a senior this year at EMU. He's from Detroit, Michigan, and is majoring in engineering physics. Larry one day hopes to get a job in the field of energy policy and sustainability. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just start. How did you two meet, pick each other? What was that process?
Well, it all started in HRL. We were both RAs at the time. I was in Walton Putnam, he was in the Towers. Now this year, we're in the same building, Pittman Hall, and now I'm an office manager, he's an RA, so we have that relationship, so that's where it all started.
So how did you guys decide to run together?
Well, that's actually a really funny story.
Get into politics.
Yeah.
Right.
So I actually had interest to go into student government just to be a senator. And Miles, we're in the same group chat, he was interested in becoming president, and he was very interested. He was she talked to Speaker of Senate Anna Corris to see if this is a good deal, if this is what he wanted to do. and he was all for it. And then I saw it, and I was like, you know what? I want to be your VP. And just like that, it was just bam, bam, bam. We were all for it, ready to go, ready to jump in.
Stars just aligned.
Yeah, just like that, real quick.
Yeah.
So as VP, what would your role be? Because I don't think a lot of people know what a vice president does, you know, because the president kind of always is the face. So as VP,
Right.
what would your individual role be? What kind of things are you more focused on?
So for the vice president, of course I assist the president in his points. But I lead the Senate body for meetings. I set the agenda and what we're going to talk about. I advise the cabinet, whether it be the political action committee, business finance committee, all these other committees within student government. So I'm kind of the behind the scenes guy, whereas Miles here is more of the face of student government who talks to a bunch of campus leaders, administrative leaders, and so on and so forth. Now, as far as my pet project, one thing I want to work on is Eastern's branding image. Of course, we all know the slogan, "True EMU." I feel like that slogan is very. I think it's old and kind of used out, because when I think of Eastern, I have a really beautiful image of what Eastern is. Eastern is a school, a campus that is filled with students from all different types of backgrounds. You have students from urban communities. You have students from rural communities. You have students from the suburbia community. You have students of all different class, race, sexual orientation, all come to get the same thing, and that is education. And with Eastern's motto of education first, I think it's really beautiful that you have all these students that come from all walks of life to just get education. Some are here paying out of pocket. Some are working 3 jobs just to pay at classes. And I think I really want to work with the marketing committee to change the image, to show that grit and that hard work that students have just to get education and degree on here on campus. And that's what I want to do for my pet project.
So if you could come up with a new slogan, because everyone's like, "True EMU." I mean, that's so ingrained into our brains. What would your new slogan be? What would this new image look like? And how are we going to market this?
I think an image for me, it would have to involve the word grit. And because a lot of students here are very hardworking and are here just to pass by and get the education. Whereas a lot of students at other universities, you know, parents pay for college campus, they got a scholarship, so on and so forth. But students here are just here to get the education. And we have very smart students here too. We have the whole 9 of the STEM field and the social field. All students here are just here to get the education, to show the hard work. So as far as a slogan, I really like to use the word grit in the slogan, but we can see, I had to talk to Ted Cotuli, he's the director of marketing here on campus, and to see where we can go with this, because I really think we can show this, whether it be a video or a picture, advertisement, whatever. I just really want to get down because I'm excited about showing this new image for Eastern.
Well, I guess as a side question,
Yeah.
I've noticed their new commercial, which is "Be True to You, True EMU." Don't you think they're kind of already starting to kind of change their marketing image?
I think they are, and I appreciate that they're trying to change that. Actually, maybe sometime last year, I was a part of this branding committee. There was these professionals coming in. They wanted to interview students, campus leaders. I was an RA at the time, and they were just asking us, you know, what do you guys think of Eastern? What do you like about it? What are your dislikes? And pretty much the whole branding image process takes a really long time. Like I asked them, how long do you think this would take? They said it could take up to maybe like 5 or 10 years. Like, wow, that's a long time. But there's so much information that they gather from faculty, alumni, the students, just to see what do we want to show people when they look at Eastern. What do we want to give out? It's really hard, but I think it could be done. And I think Eastern is trying to change their image with marketing because there's a lot of negative connotations with Eastern, as we all know. But I think they're taking the right step, and I want to join them and work with them on that.
And advertising really wants to know what like the students want. You know, like Eastern wants to be what the students want, and Larry has such an incredible pulse on what the student body wants. You know, I mean, I can't go anywhere with this guy where he's like, "Hey, yo, what up? You know, how you doing?" You know, I can't go anywhere with him knowing, you know, at least 50 to 100 people. You know, obviously that's an exaggeration, but he has a great pulse on what the community is looking for, and I think he'd be an absolute stellar help to the marketing committee.
Well, piggybacking off that, individually, together, how are you guys involved on campus, and are you known? Are you involved? What do you do here on campus? That makes you the old slogan, True EMU.
True move. Me personally, like, I just got back from Alabama. I really love working with Vision in DCI right here in the Student Center. They put on these things called alternative spring breaks, and I've done 2 spring breaks and then another alternative weekend, which is the same thing but kind of condensed. So done one in Cleveland, done one in Atlanta, done one in Alabama, and it's really cool putting on, you know, Eastern kind of just like as a helmet, as like a shield, and like going out in the community and being like, hey, this is what Eastern really stands for, and helping out other communities. You know, like that, we're both, you know, as Larry said earlier, in housing. You know, he even won RA of the year.
Wow.
He doesn't like
congrats.
brags. For real though.
Nice.
I'm still kind of salty because I was close. We were both kind of like really close, and then he beat me out. So he's been RA of the year. I've been an RA for 2 years now. You know, we're definitely very involved in housing, and just how housing is on campus. It kind of lends itself to being very involved in campus as a whole.
And then additionally, other 2 things that I do here on campus. I'm also a McNair Scholar. Just a summary of what that is. It's a program that's funded by the government, Department of Education, that helps underrepresented students get into grad school. So they give you all the necessities and all the planning and the help to do good in your undergrad and apply to graduate school career. So I'm in the McNair Scholars Program, currently doing research with faculty in the physics department, and I'm also part of SPS, which is the Society of Physics Students, and it's pretty much it's a faculty, say like a physics club, and we meet weekly, and we talk about we might do projects, or sometimes what they do is they do teaching sessions at elementary schools. They branch out to the community and stuff like that.
And
Nice.
he's even done a lot of presenting. We both presented at the undergraduate symposium. One of the things that even has shaped my collegiate career in a really powerful way is this new experience, we'll just call it, called the Multicultural Leadership Experience. And it started as kind of like a 3-tiered program that I was part of the first cohort for. So that's really cool, is kind of being the guinea pig for this new experience. And now a really cool thing is that is even turning into a living learning community on campus. And so being one of the first people in that has really taken off. And so, you know, McNair Scholars is very similar to that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
definitely involved.
And also, when he worked in DCI, he had a really, really good relationship with Dar Mayweather, the previous head of DCI department. And he himself has taught Miles, has been his mentor for a couple years, and they have a really good relationship, and they appreciate what he's done.
Before you guys leave, while I
Yeah.
still have you here,
Yeah.
how did you guys come up with the important points on your campaign list and agenda? How was that kind of put together to really determine what was most important?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was kind of interesting. Literally, we sat down and we asked ourselves, what can we do? What do we want to see to make a change on campus? And we came up with those 3 points. We assessed the need of like the students of the whole student body to see what do we think that they would need? What is needed out there? Like the parking app. You know, Eastern is 70% a commuter school. So why isn't there something for the commuter students? It would only make sense to give something benefit for them for being a student here. So that's how we came up with the parking app. We know that the rec item was old, so we said, why not continue these plans that have been set by student government? And then the off-campus flex. I mean, I have been for internships. I was at Ohio State, and they had their off-campus flex using $90 off campus. So to me, I was like, why is this not at Eastern? I mean, it would make so much sense to build the community, get the students out to IPSI, and bring IPSI back to return. And I think that would attract more students to come to Eastern in the first place.
Right.
So,
Well, thank both of you. Larry's, Mile, best of luck on the campaign journey.
Appreciate
Good
it.
luck in
Appreciate it.
politics, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I'm addicted to Facebook. I'm always on it. I was checking on my feeds one day when I noticed an ad to test and keep an iPad. So I clicked the link. All I needed to give it was my contact info. You know, home address, email address, cell phone number. Seems pretty easy to get a free iPad. A week goes by and I never get a new iPad. And I noticed I was getting hundreds of text ads on my phone. Because of all the extra text messages sent to my phone, my bill went up $10. Yeah. I wasn't getting a free iPad. They were just fishing for my phone number to sell to advertisers. I know there are legitimate ads on Facebook, but if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. My name is Nate, and I'm trying to be e-safe.
Thanks for tuning in to Meet Your Candidates. I'm your host, Shannon Smith, and you can catch their debate Thursday, March 23rd here in the Student Center.